said, we'd be delighted to.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, there we go. This meeting is being recorded. And I should just say to everybody, if you want to ask Donal or myself or the team a question, please raise your hand physically and wave it at us. And other than that, it'd be great if you could actually lift your hand digitally. There's just on the Zoom system here, you can do so. And you can also put your questions into the chat. We'd be very happy to field your questions. So Donal, over to you. You can take it away. People are happy to be here and listening to you now.
Perfect. Many thanks, Thomas, and thanks to Thomas and to Elias for inviting me to say a few words today. My name is Donal. I'm originally from Dublin. I moved to Berlin in 2006, but actually have connections to Germany going back quite a bit further than that. My dad worked at Voss, so back in the early 90s. As a family, we moved to Frankfurt am Main, and you know the Irish economy back then wasn't doing as well as it is today. So he was actually helping Irish people get jobs in Germany. So as I said, so I was 10 to 13. I lived in Germany, moved back to Ireland, but then I studied business and German at Trinity College. Did Erasmus, which brought me to Mannheim for a year, where I met a couple of pals who I still have today in Berlin, because basically in 2006 we came back to Germany to go to the Football World Cup that was on. We just sort of finished, graduated college. I had such a good time at the World Cup that we thought, let's move to Berlin for a year and see what happens. And all these years later, I'm still here. So yeah, my first call, I guess, in Berlin was the Oscar Wilde Irish pub, which was a sort of a rite of passage for many people back then. But while I was working in the pub, I met Martin Bailey, who some people at the embassy would probably know, and he offered me a job at his company, First Berlin, and he's actually also, you know, I've known Martin since those days, and he's been a great supporter of the festival in more recent years. So it's nice that it's sort of an example of the Irish community sticking together. So I worked in finance with Martin for a few years, and then it was the financial crash happened of 2009. And I sort of realized in that time that finance wasn't really for me. So I went back and I did a master's at the HTB, the Fachhochschule here in Berlin. Basically specialized in economics. I thought I'd sort of go into renewable energy field when I graduated. Because back then, like Berlin remains, but even back in the early 2010-11, it was really the center for renewable tech in Europe anyway. But while I was sort of looking at jobs and working a little bit in the renewable sector, I sort of realized that people were no longer moving to Berlin for the techno, which was back in my day. They were more moving here for the tech. So I got into the tech scene. I worked at various startups over the years. One was a taxi dispatch software. So we developed an app for the controller to manage bookings that come through an app for people to book a cab. And then we had an app for drivers. So I was in that transport field for a few years. And then I joined Squareball Digital, which is about 6 years ago. And I've been there ever since. And I've got a few slides that maybe I can explain a little bit of what I do, what the day job is. I think you're going to have to make me the host so I can present. Okay, I think actually I can do it now.
Got it? Yeah.
So is that coming through? So Squareball, we are a digital agency. What that means is we build digital products. I'm what is called a product manager. So I started off as a project manager, and there's a bit of a distinction between a product manager and a project manager, whereas project manager just sort of listens to the entrepreneur or the founders or the client in this case, and builds basically the next features, what they think is the most important for the app at that stage in the product life cycle. But I've since grown into a product manager, which basically means we do more to analyze the market, to analyze the data, to analyze the competition, to recommend to the founders what they should build next, and then relay that to the designers and to the development team. And we, as I said, basically build these products. I'm heavily involved in the one that you see here on the right, which is CAD-Ray. It's a dental software for dentists. It's CAD software, so you can, if you go and get a crown fitted, the dentist can now use new scanning technology to basically scan your mouth, and then we can use CAD-Ray to perfectly fit the crown into the patient's mouth. So that's the product that I'm most heavily involved with. Block Angel is another product that I was previously involved in. That's a startup that started in Dublin. They're part of the Enterprise Ireland funding scheme. And Block Angel is an app for users who live in a large property to communicate with each other, but also to report any issues in the building. And it's a way to basically communicate with your neighbors, but also communicate with the property management team. So that's what they're the products that I'm involved with. But we also have a strong background in what's called identity, and this term CAM, which basically means Customer Identity Access Management, which to explain it basically means allowing companies who have developed applications to allow all of their users to log into application with the same email and password, to securely log in, should we say, and then it's all feeds into a central database of users, which allows users to reset their password. And that, it sounds relatively straightforward, but to do it securely is quite a significant development effort. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money to develop identity solutions in-house, which is why a lot of companies of a certain size, they will go to a vendor who supply this service sort of out of the box. And two of the biggest are called Okta and Auth0. And we at Squareball, we are it says here, premier partner with both of these. Are like large US vendors who supply the software. It's an enterprise level software, so it's quite an expensive bit of kit, but then they need people like Squareball to implement and to customize this platform for the needs of the use case. So this is what we do. So we are based in Berlin, but we also have an office in Poznan in Poland, which is great because it's only a few hours drive away. And that's where a lot of our developers sit, whereas the product and identity consultants are based in Berlin, in Kreuzberg. Here's just sort of some of my colleagues. And this is very much the identity side. So the Squareball is split in two. We have the identity side of things, which are the consultants, as you see here, who will come in to, as I said, assist companies in implementing these Okta and Auth0 solutions. But I'm more on the product side, so designing and building digital products for not only startups, we've done projects for the United Nations, and one that I really liked was for the International Labour Organization. We designed and built a tool a data visualization tool to basically so that users could compare unemployment stats, for example, for their country versus a different country. So it was a really good tool for academics and for journalists. So that I won't go into too much detail on some of these more technical side of things, but I thought it would just be interesting to show you some of the case studies. So Flink is an engagement we just finished. So I don't know if people in Berlin might have used it before. It's just a really simple way to get your groceries within 10 minutes. It's really quite impressive how quickly they can deliver. And so we assisted them with implementing Okta, which means that all of the users, so when you register for Flink, you can sign up, and obviously you can also register and log in with social, so with Facebook and Google, all these different social channels. So that's on the user, the end user, for the likes of you and I ordering our groceries, but they also have secure login and an app for their riders, for the delivery people. So that was a really nice engagement that we just completed recently with Flink. And this is CAD-Ray, as I was talking about, the dental software. So it's quite a fun tool to work with, is to manipulate these 3D scenes and objects and construct these crowns and night guards, and we have a few different applications that so with each cycle we will release a new feature, and so that's how we continue to develop the product over time. As I mentioned before, this is Block Angel, so purpose-built communications between people residing in a property. Andrew is the founder. As I said, he's based in Dublin, and he sees not only applications in private property, but also in development, in units for what do you call shops and stores, and basically any property management. So it's the first vertical, shall we say, is private property, but then the idea is to diversify into basically all property management areas. Feller, I don't think there's much to talk about with Feller, but yeah, so that's the day job. that's what pays my rent. But then I also co-manage the St. Patrick's Festival in Berlin. So the festival wasn't started by me; it was started by my business partner Dara back in 2011. I was there on the day, and it was literally just about 50 people walking through Gerlitzer Park and playing some traditional Irish music. But since then, the festival has really grown from strength to strength. There's a few just impressions here of the festival throughout the years. We generally try to hold it in Kreuzberg. I mean, I live in Kreuzberg, and I think it's a good place to host the festival. This is actually so Dan, which obviously the embassy colleagues will know, is now the ambassador to the US, if I'm not mistaken. But he was the ambassador to Germany back in the very early years of the festival. And I think sort of probably one of the highlights was in 2015, and there was the streets of Kreuzberg were closed off for the festival, for parade through the streets. So really, it has grown in strength to strength. I got involved in 2018 because after 2015, 2016, Dara left Berlin and was back in Ireland. So I just contacted him and said, it's a bit of a shame that the festival hasn't been going on in the last few years. So he just said that he hadn't found someone to basically take over the reins. So I got involved then, and we had the first that I managed was in 2018 in Urban Spree, which is just across the Spree in Friedrichshain. And it was a huge success. It was absolutely rammed. We combine it every year with the Six Nations, with the rugby. So we, the Guinness and rugby combination is a winning formula, we find. So to have it on the Saturday. And then in 2019, we had it in Beer, which again is not too far away. And then as Thomas mentioned, we had a sort of an enforced hiatus due to the pandemic for a couple of years. But we got things going again in this year in the Jockel Beer Garden. And it was great. We had Setanta and Berlin GAA clubs. They were down. They were displaying and trying to get people to join to join and sort of come and play hurling and Gaelic football. And for me, it's just an opportunity to bring the Irish community together. You know, it's like Dara was quite keen on the parades and things like this, but I don't think this is a time for sort of flag waving and annoying residents with closing off streets and things like this. So I'm quite happy to keep it small, just to keep it sort of the size that it is. I think we had just over 1,000 people attend this year, and we were able to make a nice donation to Ukraine, a local Berlin-based charity that's supporting the people of Ukraine. And yeah, delighted with how it went. We might make some changes for next year insofar as it takes a lot of time and effort to put on a festival, which I don't always have. So we're thinking about contacting some professional event management companies to basically run the festival going forward. But nothing sort of set in stone. What I do know is that I thought the Jockel was perfect this year to host the event. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. So that's pretty much what I've got. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks very much, Donal. That's been very interesting for us to listen to, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us this afternoon. I have a question, and it's in relation to the Squareball there. Just I'm a very typical Irish man with my the teeth that I have, what I was born with rather than what I invested in. So it's very interesting. You're talking about that special perfect crowns, how they're fit, and it boggles my mind even to think that someone would approach you and you'd been able to actually fulfill that need. I guess it shows that you can do pretty much anything. Sorry, go on. I can see you want to talk there. But the other thing is just when you're getting everybody's details and data, and even when you look at Flink and being able to actually access with so many different elements of the actual source or the product, whatever, with the one user detail, it strikes me that that's got quite a lot of strands going on at the one time. What how do you manage it all? How do you know what's a good thing to take on and what's not?
We're quite strong on what I suppose we call process. We always follow the same process for every engagement, and it always starts with this discovery. So that's when we get all of the stakeholders in a room, and we map out first of all the systems that they have, because every company will have their own, because Okta and Auth0, they integrate with all different software that we use day to day, Zoom and Office 365 or Google Workspace. So we just work out the requirements. We look at the technical team will look at the database and what online services we have available, and we just map out. We follow the process of discovery. And once we've gone through that discovery process, we're in a good place to then sort of estimate and give feedback on and advise on how best to proceed. And yeah, it's the same process. It works for us, and we've been pretty happy with the results to date. Like the identity is something new. Like when I first joined, we didn't do anything to do with identity. It was basically building websites back in those days, but now it's a bit sort of boring doing a website, whereas when we have very good people who can design and build custom applications, which is and for me, it's like I really like the diversity of not just of working with a mix of startups, but also established companies. I find it's obviously the startups don't have as much funding, but it's more fun to work with some entrepreneurs who have an idea, whereas the bigger engagements with larger enterprise or multinationals, they're the ones that sort of pay the bills at the end of the day. So it's nice to have a mix.
And when you talk about identity, of course, the big thing that everybody talks about nowadays are the EU directives on GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulations, and privacy. It's a big issue for everybody, especially as we say, like once we went to the digital age, we no longer had privacy. And then, of course, there's the big data, and it's a very valuable thing. How do you reassure people that their data are safe with you, and you've got the robust protection systems in there?
Yeah, it's a huge topic, and especially in Germany, in terms of GDPR, the user data has to be stored in Germany, so that's why a lot of the times we'll implement Okta on the basis of AWS, who offer data storage in Germany. But really, it's the role of the vendor to ensure or to persuade these customers that their data is secure. A lot of the times that we speak to customers, they've already contacted, say, Okta or Auth0, but they're not. But these vendors, they don't do the implementation, so they will point these leads or potential customers to us. But a lot of this time, we're talking about high-level CTOs who have analyzed the market, and they know that this solution is what they need. And so a lot of the time, it's really the vendor that has already persuaded. But what we will do is build a proof of concept to show these potential customers how easy it is to integrate with the systems that they need. And the proof, I guess, is in the pudding. If you can deliver something that relatively straightforward, that fulfills some of the needs that they have initially, then it's a long way to persuading them to invest in what is, as I said, enterprise. It's six-figure investment to go with one of these solutions, but it usually pays off in the long term, because, as we know, security and you can't really put a price on user data at this stage.
And with that's the question there. When you mentioned that you have the offices in Poznan and you have the offices here in Germany, do you find that there are any differences in being able to establish your companies that are dealing with those, we should say, important information, sensitive information, between two jurisdictions, or it's
yeah, it does come up, but we're actually making a bit of we're making a push for the Polish market, so it's great to have Polish speaking developers and a Polish speaking team in Poznan, because we are finding, because I'm also involved in LinkedIn campaigns to promote the identity services. So like I've got a few. I've been at Squareball the longest employee, so I also help manage the day-to-day in terms of some HR tasks. But I also help our advertising and marketing side of things, and we've engaged an agency in Warsaw to help us with the Polish market. And what we're finding is that these services, like around identity, are very new they're new everywhere. I mean, they're huge in the US. Germany is catching up, and say Eastern markets will follow suit quite soon. So we're actually educating the market at the same time as trying to engage some of these larger companies and persuade them, I guess, that the solution is suitable for them. But what we're finding is that we really need to build trust first and foremost in the team. And so that's why we're starting it's an ambassador role. So we're going to have basically talking heads with some of our consultants that you saw on the slide before, them just talking about identity implementation, and also have them write pieces on LinkedIn, articles, and basically promote ourselves as experts in the field, which we are, but it's just about getting that message out there.
Well, you sound like it. The way you say it's complicated, but you make it sound also like it's easy for you. You're very obviously passionate about it, and you're obviously a big driver of it. And when you mentioned there about doing your masters with the financial crash in 2009, you know how to say that adversity is the, what's it called? I think Shakespeare had a quote about adversity being like an ugly toad with a jeweled crown upon its head, something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. So would you say that your experience with the financial crash, if one were to be listening to you now, or to say, look, yeah, just go back to college, do your masters, do something that you feel passionate about, and this is something that you are passionate about, and because of your passion and your love for it, that it's actually driving things on, or people have belief in you, or
very, very much so. And I suppose especially in the tech field, what we're seeing, and we've also hired a lot of people who have mid-career changed and gotten into tech more as developers. The German government is or the state is very good at supporting people who perhaps are out of work or are looking for a career change, and that they offer these boot camps where you can basically learn to code in a couple of months, like very intense. But you also have to have a head for development, which I don't think I have. I'm more on the product side of things. But I think, yeah, I'd encourage anyone to rethink, and it's never too late, sort of thing, to change direction if what's going isn't so to say working for you at the time.
And speaking of changing of direction and stuff not working for you, your St. Patrick's Day parade and festivals and festivities, it was just something that you said you just happened to be in the crowd with 50 people, and the photographs there looked very colorful. And it's something that's very clearly been working for Berlin, and has had a lot of take up. And like I said, 2020, 2021, it wasn't possible. And 2022, you came back with a bang, and with 1,000 people there. I think what you said there about tying it in with the Six Nations is a big draw as well, having that extra little bit. And although I was not able to make it myself this year, I heard from all manner of reports that it was quite the event to be at. And
it was great. Yeah, we sold all the Guinness, which is always a good start. And yeah, I was honestly, I was just, because we didn't know what the turnout would be, because in previous years you'd get a good steer on Facebook in terms of people saying that they're going to attend. But the people sort of said that they were going or interested in the event was just way down on previous years. I think it's a combination of people no longer being on Facebook. And so therefore, we also promoted on, we even promoted on TikTok, but, we're on all the social channels basically. And also got the word. We featured in a couple of, in Big Set on the newspaper, and we're also on a couple of radio stations. So I did a couple of short interviews on one of them I explained who St. Patrick was, which I of course had to look up to give a bit of background on St. Patrick's history. But yeah, we got the word out, and the people came. It really was. It's sort of mind blowing to see this huge queue of people around the bend, but obviously the weather was also good on the day, which it isn't usually. We've had, I think 2018 was the year, I don't know if you recall, the Beast from the East. So it was -15 during the day. So we had all the musicians like trying to stay warm while they were playing on the outdoor stage. And then 2019, it didn't stop raining all day. So it was really, it worked out all around this year.
Yeah, I am at the Beast from the East. I was actually in Beijing in the East in 2018, and we had snow. So I think it was the whole northern hemisphere was covered in horrendously cold, untoward weather. I believe my colleague Elias wants to come in with a question there to you as well, Donal. And I have a feeling it might be on St. Patrick's Day. But Elias, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Donal, for your presentation. And I definitely learned a lot about the work that Squareball is doing now, and it's very exciting. But my question goes into the St. Patrick's Day Festival direction. And I was wondering about the demographics of this event. So what kind of people eventually show up at the St. Patrick's Fest? Are these people from, are these Irish people living abroad, or do they tend to be younger people, or not so
Yeah,
young people?
it's very difficult to sort of, because you have all these targeting tools now. When you pay for some advertising, you can really nail down the interests or the ages of the people you want to target with sort of some of these ads. And I don't really know. is the answer. I think there's a strong. In previous years, there would have been quite a few like American tourists and things like this that would have also attended, but I think mainly the Irish community are obviously the number one, and it's great that the embassy are great in putting the word out and in the Monatswolf and things like this. Apart from that, I think we also just have a group of a strong group of German people who have a connection or an affinity to Ireland, so we try to obviously include them, and that's the whole idea. I think is for Irish people to get their German pals and to come along and have a Guinness and listen to some music and things like this. And I think that's certainly what we're trying to promote as a sort of a sense of friendship between the two countries.
Yes, and I find that very interesting, especially when you think about possible audience involvement in future events. I'm thinking along the lines of user-generated content, because more and more events are now going more and more digital. And I think in this sense, taking a close look at the audience and the clientele that you're attracting can also offer potentials for the event to grow and just involve people from different walks of life.
Yeah, for sure. We thought about the idea of doing a satellite event. Just a similar idea, but just because I have a couple of pals who are in bands, and obviously with the pandemic, there's not been many opportunities for bands to get gigs. So we're toying with the idea of maybe doing another event over the summer but yeah, we're not sure in terms of it. Yeah, of it growing. I mean, it's been at the Arena was probably the biggest venue that it's at, like a few years ago. I'm not sure if it needs to be that big. But also I'm sort of biased because the bigger it is, the more effort in terms of managing it. So maybe if some partners come in and want to take it a little bit bigger, that's I'll be able to take a step back.
Exactly. I mean, there's also the tension between quality and quantity, and you want to deliver something that also is perceived as high quality and enjoyable by people.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you.
Can I come in on that, Donal? And just it's a great curiosity for us, and it must be a great curiosity for an awful lot of people. When you just highlighted there, 2015, the stopping of the streets and the parades. How did you do that? How did you get the authorities? You must have really had to work very closely with the municipality or the district for that to have been allowed. And was it hard?
It was I don't think it was straightforward. It was before my time, but I have heard a little bit about what was happening. And Dara said that the biggest support in getting approval from the city was the police chief at the time, who I think he had an affinity to Ireland, but he was very much into the idea. So I think he had a big say in getting the sign off from the Senate. We since back in 2018, we did reach out tentatively to sort of see what would be possible. But the feeling very much in Kreuzberg-Neukölln is that a parade is not required. I think they're quite sensitive when it comes to sort of larger events and bringing a parade through parks and things like this. It's Dara always suggested maybe you could go to a district where the CDU are in local government. They may be more receptive, but I'm not sure. Regardless, I don't think I'll be really pushing for a parade anytime soon.
No, I take your point, especially when you said earlier about the the donations to Ukraine and working with the Berlin-based organization that were helping people in Ukraine. I mean, it was a sensitivity for all this year, of course, and I can understand when you talk about parades and the context that we're in. So it seems that the committee is in good hands when you are of that sentiment as well. I think did I see a hand up there, or am I mistaken? Did somebody want to come in? No, I think, yeah, okay. One more question. Yeah, please.
Yeah, this one more question is coming from me, and now it relates to the work of Squareball. And the single sign-in software is something that I find very interesting, and I was wondering, is it also affected by the Safe Harbor Agreement between the United States and the EU?
Ooh, I don't know about the Safe Harbor Agreement. Is it similar to GDPR?
I think it is. It relates to on what kind of servers can data be stored, and where are these servers located, and that the EU has put a lid on, for example, the big tech giants like Facebook when it comes to storing the info on European users on US-based servers. So there's an ongoing negotiation between the United States and the EU. Yeah. But maybe something along these lines. And how far does this affect your work?
Yeah, as I said, we don't have any clients in the US. So I mean, it's great. The CAD-Ray team. So we do have some involvement. We have CAD-Ray. Their operations are mainly in the US. But all the data is all stored in the EU. So actually, I don't even know how that works in terms of the agreement between the two. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting space to see what will happen over the next few years.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Donal, I think I'm conscious that even though we started a bit late, people are also possibly wanting to get back to work. I see a couple have left there. I just ask again, if anybody has any questions, please put your hand up now, or you can put it into the chat. If not, then it falls to me to say thanks, Donal. And
you're very welcome. I'm glad we managed to get there in the end. And yeah, sure, maybe we'll connect again at some stage in person.
Yeah, and what match did you watch in 2006? Was it in Berlin? What wasn't the final? Was it the World Cup?
No, I didn't get to the final. I got to a match in Kaiserslautern. I think it was Australia playing. I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, the first ever football match I watched, soccer match, was in that World Cup in 2006. So I was down in Munich, yeah, it's funny how life takes us on different winds, isn't it? And how I don't know if you had any intention to live in Germany, if you studied German at school, or when you're at Trinity, was it? I didn't get it that you had studied German.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I studied business in German because I'm fluent in German because I lived here when I was a kid, so I've always had the German. So it was like, well, Berlin is an obvious sort of place to choose.
You did mention that earlier. Actually, I apologize. Okay.
I think today Ailish have a hand up there.
No, I think it was an applause. Ailish, did you want to come in?
I was an applause.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Eilish. I just want to say as well, look, we have a little gift for you. It's a book called Pub Life. It's been put together a couple of years back, and it is a sort of, how can I say, portfolio of Irish pub owners and operators and bar people
Excellent.
and stewardesses across Germany. It's not an exhaustive list of all of them, and it's not an exhaustive compilation of photos of all of them, but it is just a little gift that we're going to give to you. I mean, you mentioned the Oscar Wilde pub there when you came over, and how you got in, and then we're working in Berlin first Berlin. So hopefully Pub Life, you'll have to give us your address. We'll send it out to you.
Happily.
And,
Thanks very much, Thomas.
Might give you some ideas even for some expansion in the parade and festival business. Okay.
We shall see. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a good
Thank
Friday
you.
and
Very
enjoy
much.
the weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.